Yeah, so this is our session then. This is where we're supposed to be. African Indigenous Development and Culture. That is session 8A. Do we have, I think I see Na Koko Watsinote, doctor. And is Dr. Gloria Ahima Bafu here? Okay.
Sorry, Adewale, and I'm set to present.
Yeah, Dr. Adewale, this is session A, African Indigenous Development and Culture.
Oh,
Do we
I wasn't
have,
assigned to any other room.
I think they're still working on it. Do we have Rudia Akan and Ojambo? Okay. I am here. I can
Do you
see
mind?
Habib is
I can
on,
make the
Guzman.
presentation here.
And then, so yeah, I would have to see if our presenters are here. And then when we're done with our presenters, then we can add you on. Imelda. Okay. Dr. Enos. Okay. So I see that we have two of our presenters here. So, and our presentation will take 15 minutes, and then we'll take about 10 minutes for questions, and then we'll move on to the next presenter. So far, we have the first presenter, paper 1, by Nakoko Watsinote, Blending Emotions and Attitudes, the Rhetoric of Nipa as represented in African Conception of Personhood. So we'll hand over to her to start, and then we'll have the fourth presentation, and then I will also go ahead with my presentation. And then if we have room, we can take those who are here. And if new presenters show up, we can do that. Thank you. So Dr. Watsinote, if you're on and ready, please. Sorry, can you all hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, okay. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Na Koko Watsinote, and I can hear myself.
We can hear you too. Okay, maybe let's see if okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Na Koko Watsinote, and I'm presenting this paper on behalf of myself and my co-author, that's Gloria Bafu. Please, I would want to share screen. I'm presenting on the topic just like the chair mentioned earlier, blending emotions and attitude, the rhetoric of Nipa as represented in the African conception of personhood. So just like how we are seated here, some of us have known each other for a period of time, others are meeting each other for the first time, and I believe that we may have in our minds as Africans or people who have lived among each other for some time, we may have in our minds the perception that you would want to create concerning anyone you meet. So subjectively, you may have created an opinion about someone or how that person's attitude is like. The normative idea moment. So the normative idea of personhood is, as I mentioned earlier, is central to African moral thinking, which most of the time is going to be subjective. Now, Menkiti highlights the nature of communalism by dwelling on an idea of social moral personhood that is based on community. So within the community, everybody is supposed to behave like a family. And we believe that the African community is communal in nature, as in it's one in nature. Everybody sees everybody as being part of them. Now, to Mankiti, the thought of communalism represents a community that views social rules, which shapes moral personhood and points the social moral relations among persons, so that if there's an individual who is morally not upright, the community is quick to identify that person or judge that person a certain way, so that you are easy to say this person is a good person and this person isn't. And that is the reason that we have some rules that we have drawn ourselves for which we rule our communities. We see these things as being together or being with other people, and that is how we see our communities. There are so many works that have been done on personhood, but I dwell on Garvey et al. And Garland. Now, to Garvey et al., they use qualitative approach by engaging participants through semi-structured interview. Now, they identified the idea of marking the differences between conceptions of personhood from an African perspective and those of the West. Garland 2024 asserts that personhood simply means being human or a human being. It also denotes an entity that deserves special moral concern. Looking at these two, I realized that they really did not delve into the theoretical aspects of personhood. There was no linkage to any, if there were, they were linked to the theories of Afrocentricity. But with mine, I'm looking at the language aspect of being person or being a human. So the study which we are embarking on seeks to bridge the theoretical gap by using Aristotle's rhetorical appeals to find out how emotions, ethics, and language are expressed when some key terms expressing personhood are used in daily discourse. So in our daily discourse, in our daily conversations, what are some of the things that we say that would evoke emotions, evoke ethical concerns through the language?
Okay.
The presenter mic is muted, please. Dr. Watson-Norte, you're muted.
Just a moment. Let me go unmute her from there, and she basically unmute while I fix this.
Are you unmuted?
Let me go.
Okay.
For the sessions that the original chairs are going to chair, or which right the people are chairing.
But why is the chair not on?
Yeah.
Hello.
Dr. Watson, yeah.
Yes, I think it's a connection from here. Can you hear me now, please?
Yes, we can. Please continue.
Okay. All right. So I was on the statement of the problem. I mentioned what Garland and Gavi et al. Have been doing. And based on that, this study sought to bridge the gap, that's a theoretical gap, by using Aristotle's appeals, that's on ethos, pathos, and logos, to look out for some key terms expressing personhood in daily discourse.
I'm going to sort it out. She's talking to her director.
In daily conversation. So the study sought to ask, based on the objectives stated, the study asked, how is the concept of personhood represented in African concepts? And how does the concept of personhood appeal to emotions and reasoning in language use or the use of language? So based on ideas sought, and having Aristotle's appeals as the primary theory, the study found out that with ethos, which deals with credibility, humankind tries to find out how kind or homely a person would be with the tone and style of a person's use of language. And based on your tone of language, someone is likely to know or tell whether you are trustworthy or whether you own an authority, whether you are humble, whether you have a little pride based on the credibility. And then with the pathos, deals with emotions. So through conversations, individuals are either soothed or they are heartbroken based on how you speak. So you're able to generate emotional effects when the conversation you have with people are not really well thought. And with the logical reason, where there's the logos, it is a form of a fact. Whatever we say are either based on facts or assumptions. Now, this is what we used as the concept for the study. To gather information for the study, we use a qualitative approach and we use a descriptive phenomenology. People, almost everybody in the community have engaged in discourse or conversations one way or another. So we believe that people have experiences of talking to people, other people, whatever the conversation may be, whether it's casual or it is official. So we use descriptive phenomenology, and then we sampled it purposively. Now the sample size was 10 for the purpose of this study. But as we moved on, we realized that the responses that were emerging were similar. So data became a little bit saturated. So we decided to stop at 5. The data collection, as I've mentioned earlier, is conversation analysis and unstructured interviews. And then we analyze the information thematically. So research question 1 said the objective was to identify how personhood is represented in African concepts. The emerging theme was on human rights and personhood. And the indication in relation to theory, we find out that there's an expression in the Tree language. That's the use of the word nipa. When somebody says, we are nipa, to wit, you're a human being, it is uttered in a communication situation or discourse to mean that the individual may have shown some credible traits admirable to many. An appeal to credibility, thus, ethos continues to reflect on the individual's makeup. Now, the second emerging theme was the language and personhood, that through language, if somebody says, or ye papa, to wit, she is a real human being or person, it's also to mean how credible that individual is. But if someone says, or ye nipehun, in some contexts, people will say nipa or nipa jenjai means somebody who doesn't amount to anything, or to say that the person is a useless person, quote and unquote. Now, the logos here helps to bring out the linguistic element of the concept of personhood when individuals describe another human being as being human. The research objective 2, we analyze which ways in which the concepts of personhood appeal to emotions and reasons. And with ethos, as I mentioned earlier, you a human being is uttered in a communication situation to show your credibility. And then oyeni papa, that is, when you say oyeni papa, that is when you evoke the emotion. So evoking the emotion of oyeni papa makes the receiver of what you have said feel some kind of belongingness and appreciative of how the person is describing him or her. And then if you also say that unless the person has decided not to amount anything in the community, but if that person's attitude is worth changing because of what you have said, that person is likely to change their mindset and their attitudes. And all these go hand in hand with the pathos and then the logos, because how to identify ethos and how to identify pathos are embedded in language. And unless you use the language to express what you want to mean, then that individual may not know. So communication and conversation are born out of things that evoke our reasoning, our emotions, and how trustworthy we appear in the eyes of people as human beings, just like how we are described in the community. Now, linking this to African indigenous knowledge, the study realized that most people or African indigenous knowledge mostly dwells on the relevance of reciprocity and respect between humans and the natural world. So that wherever you go, even if you don't have any family or any family ties over there, because you would want to be mentioned to be a good person, you have to live a life worthy of emulation. So as Africans, the interdependency and the reciprocity with which we use to build how we grow our communities rely on how human or inhuman we are in terms of our behaviors within the society. In conclusion, we say that the African conception of personhood helps to manifest the togetherness of the spiritual aspects in the human existence and, in effect, the necessary characteristics of human species. Human beings have intrinsic or status dignity because they have the capacity for virtue. Living a life that is dedicated to developing this capacity for virtue is captured in terms of achievement and dignity. And then finally, we're saying that the achievement of dignity encompasses a meaningful life. It is evident that the perfection imagined should be understood to be characterized by a moral logic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watinote. We will take a few questions, and then we'll move on to the next presentation.
Yes, please, Prof. Thank you.
Any questions from those at the in person?
Can I just ask a quick one? I
Sure.
was expecting the question time to come after the other presenters really good. Okay, so would you say that personhood in the African context is processual? Like, is it something that moves from stage to stage, or is it attained? Like,
Okay, so based on the presentation, even in the conclusion, or when I linked it with the African indigenous knowledge, I mentioned that it's a certain form of reciprocity, so that if I'm a good person and I show you kindness, or I do something nice to you, I expect that it will be reciprocated. So I show you kindness, I expect kindness back. So that's the reason when people show negative attitude or contrary attitudes towards what good they have received, they now tend to say that that person is not a good person or is not a credible person. So yes, it is reciprocal. That is what I would say. Thank you.
What I was
Thank
actually asking is, so can I be good today and then be bad tomorrow? Or am I just in that state of being called a person? So in the Yoruba context, we say Oshenyo. So your good deeds makes you a person. Now, I'm just trying to see the flip side. So if I then decide for whatever reason not to be good tomorrow, how do you situate that?
Okay, so just like how you mentioned in your language, there is a hidden, if you like, a hidden theory which says that a good person is known by their deeds. Was that what you said? So that because of that line in your language, you would always strive to be a good person. So in that effect, if you are being a bad person, you know that you are being bad because something is there guiding you in that language to always strive to be good. So when you decide to be good, it is probably just trying to play the devil's advocate to see how the other side is. But remotely, you know that being good is what is lauded in the society because it is embedded in your language and everybody advocates that you have to be a good person. So yes, you may try to be a bad person, but you know that it is what you are not supposed to be, but you are just trying to be a bad, you're trying to play the devil's advocate. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Samuel Ako has the hand up, so we'll take that question, and then after the answer, we'll move on to the next presentation.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you now for your wonderful presentation. I think that I have really enjoyed it. However, if I may want to find out from you, did you perchance also consider, in as much as talking about the language and what is embedded in to define what personhood is supposed to be? Did you or would you also consider for reflection the person's makeup, the psyche and everything? I mean, the temperamental issues and all that. Does it also have any play? Because we're talking about emotions, and you think that some of these temperamental issues also have a stake in what defines a person to be Onipapa, if you can react to that.
Yeah, I'll revert to, thank you for your question, Akun. I hope everything is fine in Ghana anyway. So I would say that, yes, just like how the first questioner asked, all these things are embedded in our language. Unfortunately, in our cultural setting, we may not know how to describe a phlegmatic in terms of temperament when it comes to African setting. What we would have would be a very stereotyped way of describing someone who is hyperactive, someone who is phlegmatic, someone who is melancholic. So if you are quiet, they'll just say that you are not friendly. Unfortunately, that's what we'll say because on kam konipa hon, on many pa, on kam konipa to which means that she doesn't want to mingle with people. But people may not know that that is her makeup. And I in my introduction, I mentioned that it is subjective. It is subjective until people get close to you to know that, okay, this person opens up when you get close to her. However, we base these kind of assumptions or conclusions on what the person exhibits, okay? And this study just looked at what is embedded in language and not necessarily dealing with the outward expressions of human emotions. So maybe in consideration, we would look at that and then make it an addition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watson-Norte. Thank you all for the questions. We'll move on to the next presentation, which should be coming from me. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you. I'm starting the timer for myself here. I am presenting on the fireside chat approach to story gathering in the African oral traditional storytelling framework. I'm looking I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. I was just
Okay.
going to say you were muted, but now we can hear you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so I'm presenting on the fireside chat approach to story gathering in the African oral traditional storytelling framework, its praxis and possibilities. So this presentation is more practice oriented in terms of a framework that I developed during my dissertation, during my PhD. I set out to look at how African immigrants transmit culture and language in the diaspora. And I sought to use an approach that was culturally centered within our ways of knowing, or African ways of knowing and engaging. And I leaned more towards the storytelling approach. And so working within the framework of decolonizing research methodologies and the push or the argument for African-centered approaches to learning, engaging, and researching with Africans, which is part of, and I think that this particular conference is a typical example of that move towards moving towards Indigenous and African ways of knowing in the academic spaces. I ended up developing what I termed the African oral traditional storytelling framework. Now, what this framework sets out to do was to create an ethical space, making a political, a cultural, linguistic, and philosophical argument for using African understanding, African cultures, African ways of knowing, African philosophy in understanding African people's experiences. That there is a kind of a challenge or disconnect in trying to use foreign or different cultural understandings or perspective to understand African people's experiences. And therefore, by centering this framework, which uses African oral traditional storytelling as a tool for story gathering, as well as analysis, centers this framework within a decolonial space. So what exactly is this framework? I have this framework already published in qualitative research. And so if you do get some time, you can look at the framework in detail, but this is just a summary of what that framework entails. The epistemic foundation is centered within the concept of being post-colonial and therefore navigating hybrid and complex identities because of our experiences with colonialism, looking at our push for decolonization, moving beyond what we know and centering that kind of concept of Sankofa, centering what we knew before and how that informs how we live currently. And also centering African languages in research, also looking at indigenous worldviews, our values, even looking at the concept of NIPA as was presented by Dr. Watson Norte. Now, in terms of the methodology or the methods that I use, we use the fireside chat, which is the main focus of this particular presentation, but I take time to give an overview of what the framework it is in its totality. Now, the fireside chat is a communal gathering that takes place in various African countries, Okweho, Finnegan, and other African storytelling scholars have all talked about various communities within Africa having these kind of groupings where people come together in either with food or without food to share conversations, to share stories and experiences. And therefore, for this particular framework, storytelling acts as the opportunity to share those experiences as well as analyze and understand those experiences. So analytical tools involve the storytelling, rewriting and restoring. And then, of course, the outcome is a validation and a reclamation of our indigenous practices, our worldviews, our cultures, our languages. And therefore, if you use this framework or you apply this framework, you are working within, you can use your indigenous language in sharing the experiences based on the collaborators and what information they shared in that specific language. Now, in looking at how to apply the fireside chat in an actual research setting, I will be sharing on a study that I conducted with teachers, female teachers in boys senior high schools, looking at their sexual harassment experiences using the fireside chat as a way of gathering the stories as well as analyzing those experiences that were shared. Now, within the fireside chat, there is that kind of a shift between the power dynamics that exist between the researcher and the researched in this kind of space, because the fireside chat is a communal space. You as a researcher in that fireside chat are merely a participant and not necessarily somebody who sits in and asks a series of questions. It is more conversational in that nature, and therefore the collaborators, and as I choose to call them collaborators because calling people participants in their own experiences is problematic, at least from the concept of the framework. And therefore, they are called collaborators, and your collaborators are rather taking on the role of leading because they are sharing their experiences, and you are part of that gathering as a person who facilitates or convenes. And so in that development, you build a kind of a collaborative relationship where the research that you're conducting is not just yours, but it is a communal agreement to look at the problem or the issue or the concept you're studying to work towards change, development, or growth, or understanding of that particular issue. So this is how the fireside chat actually looks like in its workings. And this is the relational process that you see. Looking at the study that I conducted, looking at teachers' experiences with sexual harassment, the first thing to do is to work on building a relationship with my teachers, my collaborators, and building trust. Now, looking at the sensitivity of these experiences, it is important for the researcher to do a number of visits. What I did with these teachers was to go to the school, learn about the school, engage the teachers, sometimes observe their teaching, engage their interactions with their students to build that rapport even before the opportunity to create the fireside chat sharing actually took place. Now, during the fireside sharing, I have a series of questions. They're not a lot, just questions that will probe and encourage the sharing of the experiences to come out. But in that space, I'm just acting as a collaborator, a person participating. And during the story sharing spaces, because it is conversational, there is a tendency for digression. And now, as a facilitator in that space, when that digression happens, it is back to me to engage the collaborators to ensure that we are back on the conversation that is a result, or that the gathering or the fireside chat is based on. Now, this is followed by the storing and restoring process. Usually, because we are working towards oral storytelling, and you would be basically describing the scene, it is advisable to have both audio and video recording so that you can actually develop the scenes. You can actually talk about the expressions, work in poetry, work in songs and dialogues and analysis based on the experiences and the direct words that are shared by the collaborators in that study. Then there's the next level of co-meaning making. When Dr. Watinote was presenting, talked about the fact that Africans are communal in our engagements, and therefore the process within the African oral traditional storytelling framework requires that you collaborate and you work with your collaborators in developing those stories. So what I did after I had received gathered all the stories and transcribed them and reworded them and worked in the scenes, what was happening at the time they told the story, and all of that, I shared it back I gave it back to my collaborators, give them some time for them to go through, look at it, and then we had conversation about how it is reflected, some of the things that they said, and then if there's a need for reviewing, re-editing, or re-adding on or clarifying certain information, you go ahead and do that. So in terms of lessons learned or what one should consider in applying this framework is focusing on relationship building. I have talked on that, so I'm not going to belabor it. Questions in this context as a mere prompts for engagement. It is not structured. It is so informal and so open to make room for collaborators to share as much as possible. On the issue of digression, I will share a simple example here. In sharing the experiences of the teachers, one teacher talked about a student who had come to her office to ask for help on a particular content or something that was taught in class. And without her knowledge, when the student entered her office, the student locked the door to her office. And she didn't even realize that the student had done that until her colleague came and knocked on the door. Then the student got up to go and open the door. And that's when it occurred to her what could have happened had that colleague not come into that office space. Now, when she shared this story, one of the collaborators jumped in with a story about a domestic assistant who sexually harassed one of the students and practically raped that student, and that student came to the school to share. So while this particular experience with the domestic assistant is not the focus of the study, this experience was shared. However, in order to guide the conversation back to our focus on sexual harassment is within the school space, I had to come in and reintroduce by sometimes you just ask a question in relation to something that was shared earlier in order to redirect them to that experience. So when within using the framework means centering Indigenous languages. Now, in the particular study that I'm using to discuss this language, the Ghanaian languages were not necessarily prominent because we were in a school setting. But if there's this focused on maybe some kind of cultural transmission or some kind of cultural experiences, the language may be different, and the framework makes room to use that language and to center that language in the research. It is also important to make sure that you are centering orality, because we are using the oral storytelling framework, and therefore orality has to play a particular role, which requires that you as a researcher should have an understanding or some level, a deep level, intermediate or deep level of understanding of the oral culture of the community that you're studying with, in order to be able to know or identify the oral qualities that are exhibited when they are sharing their experiences. Again, in terms of language, you center what they say. We don't necessarily summarize what they say, their experiences or the stories they share, but you share the stories as they told them in their own languages, and you add that feel of conversation. I remember when I shared the stories that were developed from the interviews and the conversations with the collaborators. One of them raised the issue about how it was written, that it sounds so like a conversation or a language that is spoken and not written. And then I mentioned the fact that the idea here is to center that feel of being there for the reader or for the person who is receiving or listening to that story. I have 1 minute, so I'll quickly go through this and I can take questions that will address some of this. So in terms of its impact or its implications for research.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Samuel. What is the title of your
I'm
presentation?
supposed to present a paper on assessment of indigenous knowledge inclusion in instructional delivery during the teaching of environmental concepts in primary schools in Ibadan metropolis.
Yeah. Okay. I really do not know how all this was arranged. Because Abera is not here. I'm also looking for them wherever they are.
Okay.
So how about maybe, let me just say, Rodwell, are you presenting? Rodwell, are you there? Are you presenting? Hi.
I'm not sure Rodwell is listening.
Are you presenting? Rodwell, Uta, are you presenting? Samuel, you are the only one. Asimwe, are you there? Florence? Asimwe, are you there? Samuel, it appears you are the only one with me.
Okay.
And the coordinator is not here. Or the
So should we then go back to the larger room or what?
Let me see what we should do. Who is there? Samuel, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, there's Samuel, you. Prof Ojo, are you there? There's here another Daniel. Let's sort this out. Okay. Godwin. Okay, so this is which session? It is session D, 8D, which is 8. Just a minute.
I will try and reach out to you if it's something we can work together on. Storytelling
Yes,
is a
certainly.
fantastic, I mean, that's one of the feminist ways of knowing that we are quite a lot of people are working on at the moment. And well, like I said, I will reach out to you and see whatever collaboration we can have. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Any questions from those? Yeah. Dr. Mensah, you're unmuted.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Setutu. I think that this is quite innovative. But just for my own curiosity and then understanding, I am into performing arts, especially theater and directing.
Yes.
In the co-creation or co-creation of the story, I like the
Yes.
way you treated the participants, if I will put it, as collaborators in the making of the stories. Here I want to find out, are they owning the story themselves, or they are presenting the story as it is? If that one came up in maybe in your focus group discussion, the story created, is it that they are representing it or they are presenting it? And these representations, that do they own it here, or they are just collection of events that are around them that they are presenting? So that I'm trying to figure it out how I can use this one in translating it onto the stage for viewers also to understand. That's my curiosity. I want to find out from you whether they represented the story or they presented it.
Thank you, Dr. Mensah. Dr. Also, please, there's a question in the room, so let's add on to what Dr. Mensah has asked, so that you can complete them. So please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the fantastic presentation, because on the first day, I was concerned about indigenous methodologies and what you have.
Is gone, and the PhD candidate was presenting indigenous knowledge of and biogas energy technology diffusion integration in Uganda, an empirical approach. And we are through with that presentation. I see the hand up, but I don't know what Dr. Rodwell what you are responding to, but maybe we can also give you an opportunity to present your paper. Thank you so much. So please. Yes. Praise, Daniel. Daniel, praise, yes.
Yes, I'm present here.
Yes, we are now waiting for your presentation, please. The mic is yours. Thank you.
Yesterday, I would present my research topic. So if you want, I try to repair it. But the days before, we present. So today is I wanted to share with you, thoughts, ideas, to listen and to understand what IT, researches that can be present. So my
Daniel.
today's topic is
Daniel,
yeah.
you have a presentation.
Yesterday I had presented my papers. If you want,
presented yesterday.
yes, yes. So
Okay.
if you want, I'm ready now. Yes, I repeat it to present my paper. If you want.
If you presented yesterday, I think that is enough. We are still looking for those who have not presented and are yet to present.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, good.
So I'm really happy for having this golden opportunity to share with you, thoughts, ideas, and the like.
Okay. Is there anybody online who has not presented in this room?
Yes, I'm here and I've not presented.
Okay, then the floor is yours. You present your paper.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Samuel Abayola from the Department of Art and Social Sciences Education, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And the title of my presentation is Assessment of Indigenous Knowledge Inclusion in Instructional Delivery during the Teaching of Environmental Concepts in Ibadan Metropolis. Ibadan is the largest city in West Africa.
Sorry
But
to
being the
interject.
largest,
Are we not going to share our slides with the audience? I think it will carry us on than just
I'm
speaking
using
without.
two devices because I'm unable to share. I'm using my laptop, but because I'm being logged out of I'm always being logged out of.
Okay, no, it's because you don't know how to share. We are not seeing you.
Let me try again if I can.
Is your camera off?
Yes, my camera is off.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, I'm trying now.
Okay, what you do is down on your laptop, on the Zoom, you will see share, a green button, a green.
Oh, I know how to do all of that. I know how to do all of that. What I'm saying is that right now I'm on my phone, but the file is on my laptop.
Oh, you are using your phone.
Yes, now I'm on my phone, but the file is on my laptop. So that's what is causing the. So I'm trying to log in on my laptop now. Let me see if it's. But the network has not been so good. But it's working now. Let me see.
Where it could sometimes be sort of just an issue within the community.
Okay, I'm on my laptop now, but
this time it used.
How do I join this group, this room?
Elders.
Okay, you go to
talk about it.
You on your laptop now. You click on the Zoom link.
Okay, yes. All right. I'm joining the room now.
Okay.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Okay, Samuel, we can see you now. All right. We are with you. He has done it. Yes, yes. Yeah, you can come this way. So that let me shift. Hello, Samuel, can you hear us? Unmute yourself.
What's wrong with
Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I said the title of my presentation is Assessment of Indigenous Knowledge Inclusion in Environmental Education Delivery in Ibadan Metropolis. Ibadan is the largest city in West Africa, and it faces critical environmental challenges of open defecation, waste disposal in rivers. We have indiscriminate refuse dump and activities that amount to general environmental pollution. Over the years, these have led to outbreak of diseases such as the cholera, Lassa fever, and even flooding. It was to mitigate these problems that environmental education was introduced to the school's curriculum to promote environmental awareness and to create environmental stewardship among students. However, this has remained ineffective due to the generic nature of the curriculum, lack of cultural specificity, and disconnection from students' real-world experiences. Many of the issues or many of the concepts being taught in the curriculum are Western, let me say, Western-centric. Many of those concepts do not share the reality of what the students are experiencing, what they have seen, or what they know. To solve these challenges, environmental education must incorporate indigenous knowledge, particularly knowledge of the immediate environment, and environmental education must also utilize culturally relevant teaching strategies in order to bring about contextual relevance of the students, practical understanding, and so that they can have a stronger tie with their environment. And so they can also develop strong environmental values. This study was carried out mainly to assess the inclusion of indigenous knowledge in teaching environmental concepts in primary schools. Primary schools, because it is at this level that students develop certain affiliation with their environment, and whatever values they are able to develop at this stage of their life will likely go on with them into adulthood. So the study focused primarily on primary school level. The study used qualitative design approach of interpretive paradigm. Teachers that were sampled that participated in the study were social studies teachers and basic science teachers. The instrument used was a semi-structured interview guide, and data was collected over the period of 6 weeks, where the researcher had a one-on-one time of interview with the teachers. The data collected, we analyzed using content analysis. I will just quickly run us through the findings of the study now. The findings of the study showed that teachers possess indigenous knowledge, particularly with relation to waste management, environmental stewardship, forest, and how to take care of the forest, how to take care of the environment, how to take care of ocean, and all of these things. Teachers had sufficient knowledge of these concepts from the indigenous perspective. However, findings show that teachers are limited in utilizing this knowledge to teach environmental concepts during the teaching of social studies and basic science. One of the key issues why teachers find it difficult to integrate the knowledge of indigenous knowledge into their teaching is due to number one, timing. They complain about insufficient time. They also complain about some of the materials that were produced for them to use. Some textbooks that they were using do not emphasize the inclusion of indigenous knowledge in the in the body of the materials that they were using. Also, the curriculum expectation. Some of the issues ingrained in the curriculum does not allow the teachers to bring in some of the indigenous knowledge that can help students to develop key or relevant or contextual environmental stewardship. This is because only the issues that are in the curriculum will be tested, especially when it comes to writing general exams, like terminal exams written at common entrance when they want to cross to junior secondary schools. And since this will not be measured, since this will not be assessed, teachers find it irrelevant. They find it unnecessary to be emphasizing indigenous knowledge that can help students to develop some level of affinity and leadership in the area of environmental education. So while teachers possess abundance of indigenous knowledge that can help the teaching of indigenous environmental management, implementing it is difficult because of specific regulations. So, conclusion. There is need for reform, particularly the reform of the curriculum. If the curriculum of environmental education will be relevant in solving environmental crisis in Ibadan, particularly on the larger perspective in Nigeria, there will be need to include indigenous concepts or indigenous knowledge that can help to teach it better to students at the level of primary schools. So there is a need for a curriculum reform. Then there is also the need to integrate indigenous knowledge in the way teachers are being prepared at teacher education institutions so that they will develop key instructional techniques on how to manage or how to teach indigenous concepts to their students. Lastly, okay, I want to thank you for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. That is, I think that's how far that evolved. Thank you so much, Dr. Babalola, for the presentation. Now I'm going to open the presentation to other members if they have comments and questions. Thank you. Members here present, please. You can ask or you can engage the presenter. Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. I am Professor Kalista from Delta State University, Abraka. I'm also in Nigeria like you. Yes.
All right.
I listened to your presentation and how indigenous knowledge can be used for environmental control, if I might put it that way, to as in ensure a clean environment, you know, where we live. And you said, first, I wanted to find out, do you on your own know any indigenous way that the environment can be taken care of? Because those days as a child, what I know is that if you defecate anyhow, they will tell you that they will take your excreta and go and put it before the goddess or one juju. So that is the fear they put in us. You don't just go to the bush and do anything you like or anyhow, something like that. Then waste, throwing waste indiscriminately. There is no juju that is attached or something. People just throw waste like that and all those kind of things. So I don't know if you on your own know any indigenous way, indigenous knowledge that our forefathers or that has been handed over to us or that is being known to use to keep the environment clean. That is one. And two, your method, you said you use semi-structured questions. If
interview
you are using,
semi-structured interview guide.
Okay, semi-structured interview guides. So which means you ask them questions, they answer you, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You have a list of questions written down, and when they answer, you jot down. And you said you use content analysis. So I don't know how content analysis can be used for that semi-interview, because if actually you asked, you're supposed to descriptively explain what you have written, what they have told you. So because for content analysis that I know, most times you get information from different sources, which might be secondary sources, and you apply content analysis. I don't know for primary, because what you use is primary method. But anyway, you can throw more light on that. Maybe I don't know much. What I use mostly is econometrics tools. I don't normally use content analysis, but who knows? Maybe now that I'm working with Indigenous Knowledge Research Network, I might find myself using content analysis, so you can help me on that. That's my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. Please, just respond.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Professor.
Doctor, I have also comments and appreciation. So You have given me a chance.
He's asking for permission to ask.
Okay. Doctor, do you want to first respond, Professor, or you can take in the second question?
Let me respond to Professor first.
Yes.
Okay,
So, Dr. Daniel, let him first respond, and then you'll ask.
How is you can take, even if it's 1% is bad, but we need to know if we need to even know is maybe doing well compared to the others, or Uganda is totally behind.
Thank you.
Do you understand? So thank you so much, to Habib. So I think let us take Peter's presentation. Thank you, Habib. So I think that's how you can improve your HIPAA, to just have the comparison there with Nigeria, with South Africa, and maybe another country like Ethiopia.
Thank you.
The populated country, so that you can now have it, and that way you can have a basis to compare what's happening in Uganda with the others.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we can have Peter.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, so just a question,
presenting a
Peter.
paper.
Please, Oluyemi, do we have, are you presenting as well? Oluyemi, are you presenting?
Oh, Prof, no. I'm even supposed to be in a group of 8. So I've contacted Professor Olorun Toba.
Okay. Well, here nobody came to we took up the responsibility to share ourselves here. So
Oh, wow.
so let's
Okay.
move ahead with Peter. Peter, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. This afternoon, I'm presenting a paper titled Assessing Climate Change Impacts on Indigenous Agricultural Knowledge and Food System Vulnerability Dynamics in Osun State, Nigeria. Here is the outline of my presentation this afternoon. The global food crisis is globally worsened by climate change and the economic downturn. Specifically in Nigeria, the Nigerian food inflation has surged, that the inflation rate is actually going on. This is worsened by climate change and economic downturn. Indigenous agricultural knowledge, the IAK, in Osun State precisely, that have been a powerful tool in their agricultural productivity, is gradually being eroded and threatened, resulting into food insecurity in these agricultural states. The problem actually is climate change disrupts traditional farming system. The droughts, the floods, and temperature shifts is threatening and disrupting the traditional farming practices of the people in Osun State, which has incapacitated them in engaging in crop diversity and food production system. It should be noted that the traditional farming system are increasingly vulnerable to the changing climate condition, and this is leading to unpredictable crop yields and food security in the states. That's why this study aims to address the knowledge gap by investigating the impacts of climate change on indigenous agricultural knowledge and its effects on food production system in Osun State. Specifically, this study covers and documents the indigenous agricultural knowledge and practices of farming community in Southwest. It also examined the effects of climate change on the erosion and loss of indigenous agricultural knowledge and food system vulnerability dynamics in Osun State. The methodology used for this study, a survey was carried out. An ethnographic study design was used that involves direct observation of what is happening on the farm. Survey instrument was distributed to
almost
Oh, okay, sorry. Let me just round off. I don't know, my time has quickly run out. In essence, the focus of this paper is that through performance command respect, performance draw people's attention. And by using all these linguistic elements, Dere Paimon, through his drama, has been able to successfully, teach people song, teach people incantation, teach people proverbs, teach people all these poetics that are contained and are filled with language, real Yoruba language, and thereby the culture of people is being sustained. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akangbe. We'll now open up the floor for questions from the site center and also online. Questions. I think you can stop sharing so that we can see hands if somebody is. Yeah, thank you. Questions and comments.
I don't have a question. It's just a comment. I really did enjoy that presentation. I could relate with it. I'm Nigerian.
Pest control methods, rainmaking rivers, and planting ceremonies were some of the indigenous practices of these farmers. The effect of climate change on transmission of indigenous agricultural knowledge. More than 80% of the respondents reported seasonal disruption of their farming activities. Above 50% of them, precisely 65.4% of the respondents.
That again?
No, we don't have any questions from the room.
Okay. Okay. So then we'll move on to the next presenter. And is that presenter in person?
Online, please.
Okay. Oh, okay, Peter. Dr. Muzinguzi, is that you presenting?
No.
Oh, okay. Did I say your name right?
Dr. Majebi, please start your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Please kindly give me a little more time. I'm just coming in now and I'm not yet settled. Please. Thank you.
Sure.
Dr. Majebi, the sessions will be rounding off soon, so would like you to start your presentation. Thank you. We have just 12 minutes to the end of the session.
Hello, Disha. Chairperson. Hello?
Yes.
Please, Mike, can you allow me to present without sharing my screen? I've been
I
on.
guess so. I
Okay.
guess so. Looking at the time, yeah. Otherwise,
Okay.
you won't be able to.
I've been on transit since yesterday. I'm so sorry. So kindly permit me to present without sharing mine. I will just take a few minutes. Good afternoon, the chair and everyone. My name is Oluyemisi Majebi. My paper is titled Exploring Educators and Parents' Perspective on Advancing Culturally Based Instructional Strategies in Early Years Classroom. The culturally appropriate strategies had been acknowledged to be more effective in teaching and learning activities, especially during the early years. It is believed that children they are the agent of change. Whatever change that any society actually want to achieve, the best channel to route it through are the children, especially during the early year. But what we've established in Africa is that the Western method of teaching and learning has actually dominated our classroom. The culture of Africa had been relegated to the background. It's been celebrated as a way of entertainment. Meanwhile, there are so many components of culture that can be incorporated into teaching and learning activities that can even make teaching and learning activities to be more relevant and meaningful in the classroom. The national policy on education in Nigeria had actually acknowledged some of the elements of this culture that could be brought in to make teaching more meaningful. And that was why in this study, we went out to know the opinions of parents, their perspective about advancing these culturally based instructional strategies in early years. The culturally based instructional strategy they were looked at from three angles: the method of teaching in the African setting, which include the use of folklore, storytelling, games, the use of indigenous language, which is the medium of instruction, and the use of materials that are available in the environment. It's also include the use of story, the use of songs, the use of indigenous learning. What we now find out from this study is actually focus on the parents and the educators. It's one thing for parents to decide something. What are the teachers doing in the classroom? Then are the parents in support of what the teachers are doing? So what we find out in this study is that parents, they have expressed high level of preference for anything that is foreign, that is Western based. In fact, we find out that including names that are given to children, the language of instruction, even mode of dressing, parents have high level of preference for anything that is foreign. Meanwhile, other countries such as South Africa, Malawi, USA, Canada, they are now expressing high commitment towards making teaching and learning culturally based in the classroom, but reverse is the case according to this study. We also find out that despite the fact that teachers acknowledged that employing indigenous way of teaching in the classroom is more effective, but we find out that most of them actually want, especially the school owners, they prefer to satisfy the parents. So they decide to go the way that the parents preferred. So the study recommended that educators and parents, they should see that when this indigenous way of teaching is being employed in the classroom, that will not debar their children from succeeding. It will not make schools to lose patronage, because that was one of the things we also find out, that most of the schools said, oh, if we employ indigenous way of teaching, that they will lose patronage. So recommendation is made that children, they have a lot to gain when culturally based instructional strategies are being employed in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Majebi. Questions, comments?
I have a question. Right. That was really awesome. Very short, straight to the point. Now, I am a school owner and I am an advocate for decolonization. Okay. And I quite agree that everything foreign is attractive to parents. So while in my school, we've been able to use something like Ayolokmo, which I'm sure you know, for counting, for teaching addition and multiplication. We have a big problem, and that is language. And if we look at, the language problem in Africa is not something that we can sweep under the carpet. Now, we've got parents insisting on teaching indigenous languages. Now, which of the indigenous language? I am someone that sits at the head of the curriculum planning meeting. Which of them, in a multilingual society where we have so many languages, which do we want to deploy in the classroom? And that is just one of the questions. The main thing is in the global age that we're in. Now, I had to relocate from Nigeria to the UK. I can see how much my children are struggling trying to fit in. We have a whole lot of people leaving their countries, migration is taking place, and I can see the way that the children who have to move struggle, to fit in to the Western. And I am not for anything, I'm not for everything Western, okay? So my question is simply, in this age of decolonization, how do we really manage or marry this the idea of the indigenous, especially teaching the children using their indigenous language, using indigenous models? I think at this point in time, maybe we need to begin to look at things that are a bit more global. That's just my opinion, and it is from experience.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Olayinka Oyeleye, if I'm right. Actually, when we are advocating for certain things, we too will look at the pros and the cons of whatever we are advocating for. We don't just want to advocating for something blindly. you mentioned which of the language of the immediate environment. Even in Nigerian National Policy of Education, the language of the immediate community wherever a child is located is expected to be used during the early years. You know, research have shown, we're not saying that education should continue with that, but at least the children should have foundation in the language of the immediate environment. And I want to mention specifically 3 major countries of the world that are actually thriving technologically. The China, Japan, and which one is the third one? These are the major countries of the world that they introduce their children during the early years to the language of the immediate environment. What we find out from research and from little things that we have practiced is that when you introduce concept to children in the language where they reason, it's easier for them to assimilate.
Can I chip in quickly again?
All right.
I understand what you're saying. So we have over 250 languages in Nigeria. So
yes.
I do agree. I've had to teach a child. The child was struggling with the concept of more and less. And when I brought it down to Yoruba, she was able to quickly grasp it. But now I'm talking about having a classroom where I have 30 students. I have 20 of them being Yorubas. I have 3 of them being Igbos. I have 1 Yoruba. I have maybe 1 Hausa, you know.
Thank you, Ma. We are not talking about mother tongue now. We are talking about the language of the immediate environment.
The immediate environment is Ibadan, which is Yoruba. What language am I going to deploy?
It's Yoruba.
Now, if I am deploying Yoruba, if you are Igbo and I am teaching your child Yoruba, what would your reaction be at home?
Igbo is their mother tongue. They will actually get it. Let me quickly cite an example because my PhD work was on culturally based instructional strategy, and I met with Professor Obanya. I don't know whether you've heard about him. In UI, he retired from UI as a professor emeritus. Professor Obanya told me he's an Igbo man. He said when he was teaching his children Yoruba, there is Igbo clown, whatever, the Igbo setting. He said they started abusing him. That is an Igbo man, and he started exposing his children to Yoruba. He said he told them that the children, they did at that age, they are all grown up, their grandparents. At that age, they didn't need Igbo to buy things at Bodija markets. That what they needed to survive, the language they needed to survive in that environment was Yoruba.
Yeah.
So he exposed the children to Yoruba. Eventually, Igbo is their mother tongue. They grabbed Igbo.
Can you round up so that, I mean, it's
Yes, I'm going to jump in here. Yes, I'm going to jump in here and round it up. I think that this is a very interesting conversation that can go on. I think that for me, I would just suggest that we begin to look at how we see the language situation in Africa. I think that we need to reorient ourselves in calling it as a language problem rather than a language advantage, and find ways to engage each other. Nowadays, we're working within the concepts of translanguaging, which is something that teachers and classrooms should also begin to consider. So thank you all so much for making time for the session.
Doctor, please, we have some 2 questions here, please.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so let's pick them so that
quickly. Yes, we'll take both questions and then the presenter will answer, and then we'll end the session. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Oluyemisi Majebi, for the amazing presentation. I think my I don't know if it's going to be questions or just comments, but first, I don't know if you're aware that the federal government of Nigeria made an announcement in February that the indigenous language would no longer be used as language of instruction in the lower primary anymore because of the problem of deciding which dialect or which, imagine in Yoruba land, I mean, in, let's say, Ibadan, you might have little peculiarities here and there. Or say Southwest alone, we have different dialects of Yoruba. So I think it's coming from that point of view that which one do we then stay on? But you made a point that it is the indigenous language of the immediate community. And I want to add to what Dr. Eleye said about which language would it be? If it's a if you have a classroom where you have Igbo, you have Hausa, you have Yoruba, which would it be? Yes, this is a personal opinion that it will still be the language of the immediate environment, because it's also beneficial for that Igbo child in the class or for that Hausa child in the class, because if the teacher decides to just do English, number one, you're going to be robbing the pupils of that immediate environment of understanding things in their own indigenous language. One, then two, even the other tribes that are in the classroom might feel cheated if you don't carry them along in that regard, because the more you use the language, the more they begin to pick things from the language, and is also enriching their own their capacity for other languages. And then I believe that the discourse came from the point of introducing indigenous knowledge systems in schools, and language definitely is the bedrock of any culture. However, and there was something Dr. Majebi said about parents having preference for Western things other than indigenous things, and that parents and that school owners were saying that that if they decided to start infusing indigenous artifacts within their school, that parents might withdraw their children. Well, I think the point I'm trying to make here is that these are findings. What are the recommendations? Because sometimes we do research and then we keep it in the books. We just find out what is going on here and it doesn't go beyond there. And so I think for those, the participants, it would be good to reach back to them with recommendations, like the school owners, that there are ways that you can bring in indigenous artifacts, like Dr. Ileye said about bringing the Ayo Olokmo, into the classroom. There are ways that they can be infused that would also even make the parents interested, because some of them have also lost touch with what is indigenous. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take the next one, please, quickly.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Bright Zoba Riwitambu. My observation, or should I say my comment, is on the fact that I was looking at your statement on parents not or frowning at indigenous knowledge, introducing indigenous knowledge in the classroom as a kind of generalization, because I want to use myself. I want to exempt myself from that generalization.
Okay.
Currently, my son is writing junior WAEC, and I was excited when he told me that one of the courses, one of the subjects he's writing is Igbo. So on the contrary, he was worried because he's an Ogoni. There's no way he could write Igbo. So I was like encouraging him. But you attend a Catholic school, and in River State, where I'm from, Catholics are more of Igbo people. And I said, ever since you got into this school, is it not high time you have Igbo friends that should teach you at least Kekwanu, Kedu, and all those simple Igbo languages? So I want to take an exception to the fact that parents, like a kind of generalized statement, because I actually like people that are multilingual, if it is possible. So that is one of my observations. And then the other one is that, just like I said, I'm from River State. And River State, in fact, every ethnic group in River State has their own peculiar language. We have our unique languages. So now, if as an Ogoni person, and I'm in the classroom that Igbo, because Yoruba, maybe Yoruba is easier, because even though we say Ibadan, Lagos, or different parts would have few, as in little difference, but we know they have central language. But in River State, we don't have a central language. So if we are to go by this trying to unify ourselves on the basis of language, how possible will this be in River State? Because we don't speak one language. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We turn to you for the Dr. Osei Tutu. Please take over and then you close us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Prof.
Yes.
Prof, let me make a little comment.
Yes, quickly, please. One sentence, please.
Dr. Majebi, have you also reflected on the teacher using the L1 in disseminating information to the kids? Is he a speaker of that? Is the teacher a speaker of the immediate language in that the language in that vicinity? Think about it, and also consider the national policy on language. Consider national policy on language in your country, because in Ghana we have various dialects, yet we have a way of looking at them. So at the preschool, from lower primary or the basic to the P3, we can use the L1 interchangeably. But from foregoing, we are allowed now, the English is made dominant. So perhaps we may have to consider the national policy on language and what the president has also given concerning that, so that you can do the correlation better in making this statement quite clear for your audience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. Majebi, if you would like to respond to any of the comments and questions raised.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I quickly want to add that even in all the countries of the world where they are focusing on their own on the particular languages, they all have other dialects. If we are looking at the side that is not possible, we won't start and we won't get anywhere. There is what we call general Yoruba language, general Hausa, general Igbo. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I think if we look at it from, we actually leave the side of the dialect, we focus on the unified language for each of those regions. We can start something from, because if others are doing it and they are making gain, as in even technologically. Somebody was telling me recently that she's in Germany, and the first 6 months was to learn the language, that you can't do anything, and we know how they are advancing. So I'm not ignorant of the fact that there are other dialects, but we also have the ones that are generally speaking by the people in particular area. And he mentioned about what if the teachers that are handling those classes, they are not even the speaker of these languages. There are always a way round about it. I produced a Yoruba textbook, and we've seen situations that the teachers that are handling those classrooms, they were not Yoruba speakers. So they invited other teachers that are Yoruba speakers to handle those areas for them, and we are doing beautifully well in that area. And to the last one I would love to respond to is the issue of the announcement that was made in February that mother tongue or whatever will no longer be used. You know, most of the people that in the area of this curriculum, they are not experts. Children ordinarily, they have ability to pick more than 3-4 languages. So when we are restricting them to English language alone, we are only killing the natural ability that is in them to pick more than 1 or 2 languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the presentations, the conversations. We have a lot to think about and a lot to take home, a lot of homework to be done, to think through. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's time. Yes, Dr. Omilani, this session is over, please.
Please, Ma, can you just please allow him? I'm the one that is at fault. I'm out of my country and it's supposed to be in my section. Please, Ma, even if it is just 3 minutes, please, Ma.
It's not about
this one.
I don't have to beg. Excuse me, I don't have to beg to present. I'm due to present. Going by the schedule of the program, the session should start 2:45. I'm not apologizing to present to anybody.
Yes, 2:45 in Ugandan time. So it will be a different time in depending on where you are.
So I don't have to be begging to, if I'm not welcome to present, it's okay.
Dr. Ojo Rontoba, please. I am only chairing, so I'm handing over to the organizers, please. Thank you.
I think this is a simple case. Maybe you missed the time zone because on the program we are using Uganda time.
I did not miss any time. I did not miss any time. If I'm
No
not
problem.
entertained, there's no
Okay, so
problem.
don't worry, we will get back to you. I'll speak to the organizers. Please, we'll get back to you. It's not a problem.
The additional that is coordinating you, I sent us an email, and it was 2:45 Nigerian time that is there. So I can't be apologizing.
Missed the time. That's exactly what we are saying. So what we have
I
here
said
is
additional wrote 2:45 Nigerian time, West African time. That's what it
okay.
didn't put
Thank
Uganda
you
time.
very much. Let me
share
use
the
this
document.
opportunity to thank our chair, who has done very well. It's not easy to chair from online, but you agree with me that she has done so well. And then we thank all the participants online. They have really engaged to even more than us. So we are so grateful to you. And so the program will continue. We will get back to those we have to get back to. So thank you, my great participants online. You have kept the program going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your coordination.
This person is not happy.
Keep it up, your, such kind of,
Thank you very much, everybody. Please, a round of applause for everybody for your patience, your commitment. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
We can hear
you. Yes.
Hello.
I'd just like to say something briefly
hello?
about the Aikrn flagship journal, which is RUTA. RUTA is the Journal of African Indigenous Knowledge and Research. The journal has been constituted. The editorial, do we have the flyer, sir? The editorial board has been constituted. The journal is supposed to be the avenue through which we can get our various research endeavors out into the world. And it is not just a normal journal that is just meant for theoretical or the dissemination of theoretical researches. Like this conference, and we need to really appreciate the convener and all those that have worked with him. Please, a round of applause for him. As we have seen, the conference, which we are going to make better during the second edition, it is meant to bring theories and practices together so that it will not just be us talking theories all the time. In fact, the underlying framework is that theories and practices are embedded in each other. And so our point is to see when we visit indigenous community, when we do indigenous knowledge and all that, what are the theoretical insights that we can gain from it? And when we talk theoretical framework, how do they impact our practical endeavors? So with RUTA, the journal, we have reached out to Codestra. The reason why we have reached out to Codestra to host the journal is one, because we do not want to hide our researches behind any paywall. We want to make it open access. We want to have the research and want to open it up to everybody rather than asking you to come and pay $50 or $200 to get I think that deserves another round of applause. I'm watching everybody. If you are not clapping, no dinner for you. It is not only that we'll deny you dinner, you are not going back to Nigeria or where you come back. Oh, some people are not even clapping. You want to you want to stay in Uganda? So so we have reached out to Codestra. Codestra has given us a very beautiful framework arrangements. You know, for the next 2 years, I think Codestra is going to host us, is going to provide technical support, you know, in terms of copy editing, in terms of posting, in terms of editorials. You know, all we need to do is just look at the journal, get them ready, and send it over to them. So I think Codestra also deserves a round of applause. And we have our first special edition already on the way. We've constituted the International Advisory Board, made up of, you know, significant, distinguished scholars all across Africa, outside of Africa, and we've commissioned them to write on a general theme that we titled Rethinking Indigeneity and the Indigenous in Africa. That is the title of the special edition, Rethinking Indigeneity and the Indigenous in Africa. And their submission have started coming in. We were hoping that we will have the opportunity at this conference to be able to unveil the first edition. But you know, when you invite big scholars to write, you have to also dance to their tune sometimes. So, but I'm very grateful that the essays have started coming in, and once we have the edited, once we have the work published, we will get it across to every one of us. So that is that for Ruta. For this, once again, I want to thank everybody on site and online for your commitment to this conference. We asked that your papers be submitted earlier, and you did that. We want to thank you so much. Yes, I think it deserves. So we are hoping that we will get in touch with you. For those of you who have received significant insight into the papers you've written, you have an opportunity to also look into it and to revise. And we are starting immediately. We want to be able to present as many book and journal edition that will be coming out of this journal. We want to be able to present it even before the next conference. So we'll be working with every one of us as soon as possible. Once we are done with this and we have rested just a bit, we'll be back, you know, to your emails to send you correspondences on how to move forward with those papers. Those papers will be peer reviewed, and those who will be successful will reach out, and we'll start a back and forth of the publication process to be able to get as many outputs, intellectual outputs from this conference as possible. So that is what we have for you. If there's any question or those two announcements, I'll be glad to take them.
Hello, Professor. I don't have expression. I need to have give an opportunity.
I think it's his mic is not
Have you permit me?
Oh, Daniel, yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much for having this golden opportunity. I'm Daniel Mengiste from Ethiopia, University of Dredwa. I'm a director of Indigenous Knowledge Research. To tell you frankly, I really appreciate Professor Samuel and his colleague. He tried to do a lot of things. I really appreciate also the moderators, the researchers, the presenters. All you all are persons who have initiated to uplift African indigenous knowledge. Really appreciate. We Africans, we do have a golden opportunity to transform our formations from indigenous knowledge to, other modern forms. So we appreciate you all what you doing. So such kind of conference appreciable. So you also thank you very much for your coordinating to guide how to develop, the publications. So publication is very mandatory as a researcher, as a conference, outstairs. Why? Because such kind of, publication, article publication, book publication is very important to share our thoughts, ideas, African knowledge. So this is my appreciation. So please take my appreciation, keep it up. So we Africans to transform from, these things.
Thank you very
to,
much,
let's
Daniel.
highlight. Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your kind words. Do we have any other? So our dinner will start by the award night will start by 6:30, and then the national coordinators will be meeting immediately after the dinner.
Thank you so much. This brings the conference to a close, at least at the level of formal presentation. The other one is social. We want to thank you on behalf of the steering committee. I'm not the only one running this. We have a steering committee in place. Some of them are here. Thank you so much we sent the call out. We sent out the call and you heeded our call. For every lapses, I take full responsibility. It's a learning curve. We're going to be better next time. Thank you so much. And thanks again to the partner, the Mastercard Foundation. Can we give them a round of applause? And then can we give ourselves a round of applause? And then can we give our community, some of us travel by flight, they travel by road for about 24 hours before they got here. So let's give them another round of applause. So like I say all the time in my Yoruba language, Olowo Lolowo. The funders are here. They are listening to everything we are saying. Their concern is that we should translate this knowledge to practical application of job creation, dignified jobs and entrepreneurship. So in our libraries and classroom, we can talk about theory. But when we are doing this, how will it lead to job creation? So as we are doing our research and papers, let's think about that. So thank you so much once again, and looking forward to seeing you again in Regina next year. But before then, we want to see you in our webinar series in June. We have quarterly webinar series. In June, we'll have an NGO representative to present to us on NGO and indigenous knowledge. And then in September, we'll have another one. In November or December, we'll have the last one. So please join, and please share the word about this network. See yourself as an evangelist who is recruiting people. We want to move to like 20,000 membership. Is that possible? So share it on social media, let people know. Many people are ignorant of the importance of indigenous knowledge. People will say, is that what we want to eat? Is that what will give us car? A friend of mine was sick and people were saying, he's a decolonial scholar. They were saying, okay, use indigenous knowledge to heal yourself. Very annoying, but it's because they don't understand the potency of indigenous knowledge. So please don't let us be ashamed, because your knowledge is your identity. So let's promote the network. We have created a youth forum. If you are young, in the real age of being young, not like Africa, where the Minister of Youth might be 65 or 70 years. So if you are between 18 to 35, please get in touch with us. We have a youth forum. I think Resty is here. Is Resty here? Okay, we have a youth forum which we are going to talk about more later this evening. Thank you so much. You want to talk? Sir? Yes. Okay, sir. Please wait. Our elder want to tell us something about the journal.
Thank you very much for. I want to speak from the point of view of a non-academic, and particularly with this subject of indigenous knowledge. If it's within the concept of what the academics in Africa do, which is publish or perish, it will be of no use. Completely of no use. If the journal is oriented towards articles that will lead to progress and development, then it will be worth it. It will be worth it. Many people in the world now questioning this concept of publish or perish. Like I said in one of the groups, the president of Xi Jinping, the president of China, called academics together and said, yes, I understand your publish or perish. How does that impact on the life and development of the Chinese people? How? If you publish for progress, for development of China, it makes a lot of sense. And you could see the amount of knowledge that's coming up from China today. And he told them, you keep publishing in prestigious journals abroad and things like that. Of what use are those articles in those prestigious journals that you are publishing abroad? Paying $300, $500 just to publish your article. China will not reckon with that anymore. We will reckon with articles that are making progress for China and for the people of China. Can you see the difference over the last few years of the amount of knowledge that's coming from China? Africans have got to adopt that. So if this your journal can be oriented towards publish for progress and development oriented, then you are contributing. Indigenous knowledge was not started because we want to contribute to esoteric knowledge. That's what indigenous knowledge was for. People created knowledge within the environment they were in order to make life better for themselves and for their own development. We've also got to remember too, is the knowledge system that we are talking about going to remain indigenous for the next 20 years? Is the community that are indigenous today, are they going to be indigenous in 20 years? It is very important. Africans must stop thinking. There's a word that is called ruminating. Africans must ruminate, not think. So your journal must be toward progress and development, not academizing. Thank you.
With due respect, the general is over 80 years, and you can see how strong he is. He's a retired military general. Most time I mistakenly call him a professor because he thinks even more than professors. So we are happy to have you, sir. So in addition to the journal, we have a podcast series. We've been talking to some of you we interview you. It's free of charge for now. So if you have knowledge to share with us, we talk to you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we put it on our YouTube channel. Go there and watch and share the YouTube as well. We're already uploading some there. We've done like 6, but now 2 documentaries and 4 podcasts. 2 of them have been approved to be posted. Others are yet to be approved. So thank you so much for volunteering. We'll be meeting with our leaders this evening. I keep telling them that it's a privilege that we're in this space. And I tell them to see it as an impact. It's an impact exercise, not for self, not for the number of publications that we have from there. We have a book forthcoming. We also wanted to recommend it to your department. With the promise of it will come out in August. I will also share the stuff to you. Is that okay? A hand? Yes, Samuel. Are you clapping?
Yes, thank you, Prof, for your wonderful words by way of ending this beautiful conference that I perhaps joined virtually. I should have been there in person to share knowledge, but I did mine virtually. However, I wanted to find out, is there any clue as to when the next conference will be and where? If that is available, would you like to share with us so that we start preparing towards that too? I thank
Yes,
you.
we shared that earlier this morning. Thank you for your kind words. There will be another conference in Regina in Canada, mid of June 2026, all things being equal. So we'll communicate that to all our network members. If you are here to join the network, please join. Join now. It is free membership for now. So join now. We'll communicate the date of the conference, but we talk about it this morning. We're going to do that in partnership with the First Nation University of Canada. Thank you very much. And if your university want to join the consortium, please let us know. All right. We can't stop talking. Thank you.
Please answer my question, how to join the network, please. Hello, Prof.
Sorry again. Thanks again to this book is open access. So once it is published, you can access it free online. So you don't need to buy. We'll pay
What's the title of the book?
To access it. So it's coming out in August. Don't clap for me, clap for the MasterCard Foundation. Yeah, we pay $10,000 to make it open access, $10,000. So, you know.
Prof, can you give us the title of the book, please?
Please read it when you download it and use it to teach and use it to write. Thank you.
Prof, can you give us the title of the book?
Amandla khona ungesabi lutho moya unakubiza lela izwi lalo.
Can you put up the website that you put up yesterday? You remember? The African Indigenous Knowledge Research Network? Blow it up, please. Blow it up. Oh, hold on. Hello, everybody. So this is the website. This is the Aikrn website. And at the top right-hand corner, you have become a member. So once you get there, just click become a member and then just respond to the information that you find there, including a passport, a very nice passport photograph. Do you see? Are we here? Yes. So you have those questions.
Yes, Mr.
The category, your email, your mobile. Tell us something, and then yes, then you pick, you attach your CV, and on, your research. Please scroll down, scroll up, up. Is that up? Down, down.
Hello, dear Professor. I do have a question.
Okay. Where is it
Let I
now?
start? Let I start?
Yeah, professional title. Yeah, what your title? Are you a doctor? Are you a professor? So please, let's start joining. And let's recommend to those whose research are in this area to also join who are interested.
Good. Let me ask you a question. Professor.
Hello, members.
Hello, members.
The Batwa community have gotten the crafts behind there. So we would like you come and check on them, and maybe you can support us or give us a comment where we can improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Hello. Professor.
Just traveling tomorrow. If you are leaving by 9, I think if you are leaving by 12, I think the bus will be ready. I will confirm with Mr. Moses, but the bus will be ready. The bus should be ready by, if you are flying, then by 8:30, yes. Exactly. No. We are meeting tonight after the dinner. You are talking about the national coordinators? Oh, the boss will be at the reception.
So let me ask you a question, please, Professor.
Oh, if yours is 9:30, then you are leaving. You are leaving by around 6:30, I think, since the airport is just close by. Well, we will arrange with I will ask the receptionist, and then we will announce at the dinner. Yes. Please, let's be seated at the dinner. The dinner is where we just had our lunch. We're going to have the dinner at where we had the lunch. So let's be seated by 6:30 prompt. Don't forget to scan your boarding pass. Remember, you're supposed to scan your boarding pass to Laura. Hello, photograph. People taking photographs. Are you listening? You are supposed, don't forget to scan your boarding pass to Laura. Once you have it, or when you get to your destination, please scan your boarding pass and send to Laura immediately, please. Thank you very much. Don't forget. We are supposed to take pictures with Aikrn.